Many thanks to Jeremy Dean this morning for an elite title for bringing us breakfast. I'm actually going to throw this up on the screen here. There we go. And do a couple things. Okay. This is Jeremy. Jeremy, we've met before. He brought us breakfast this morning, so thank you, Jeremy. We've got Maria, Angela, Rachel, and Kristen online. I'm going to let you go, and I will walk through your stuff here as you go through it.
Absolutely. Can you get that to single page for maximize that? That's better. Just so it's one slide at a time. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, there we go.
Awesome. Yeah, we've been here a number of times. I haven't got to meet all of you guys. This is Mary Elizabeth. She is our closer. She's really the rock star. So we've done the same presentation a couple times. So this time we're doing one that's a little bit different. This one is not really about us. This is really just more about title in general. There's lots of questions about title, what it is, what it's not. And so we just kind of wanted to do more of like a little educational overview, because I'm sure the question gets asked from y'all's clients. So go ahead, Brian. So does anybody know what that is? It's not a trick question.
It's a car title. Certificate of title.
It's a car title. It is a car title in Texas. Yeah, so it's a physical document, right? When you, whether you have a lien or whether it's paid in full, but you do have this physical document, right? That says that you own this car. So go ahead to the next slide, Brian. You might know the difference between these two.
Oh, is that what it looks like? That one's rebuilt on the right.
Yeah, this red circle over here. So it says rebuilt or salvage. So if anybody's buying a car and you see that it has a rebuilt or a salvage title, A, does that make you want to buy it? Probably not. And B, if you do buy it, are you going to pay a whole lot less for it? Probably, right? If you see rebuilt or salvage, for the most part, that makes people run the opposite direction, unless you're like a car guy, right? You're flipping things and whatever, because it has. But the point is, who knows what kind of damage was done to that car? But it was categorized as rebuilt or salvage because something bad happened to it, right? And then that makes people not want to buy it. So the reason we use this as a cool example is because this does not exist in real estate. There's no such thing as a rebuilt or salvage title. Why? Because of what title companies do. It's our job to make sure that every one of your clients has this 100% of the time. So this does not exist, okay? Because then that would make y'all's job a whole lot harder. If you're seller, if you're listening and you're like, oh, this is a salvage title because we got some defects on it, and then buyers don't want to buy it, like we have with cars, right? So go ahead, Ryan. All right, this is a fun little 2-minute stick figure video. I don't know. Well, it's YouTube, so.
No, they're not going to play.
Oh, it's not gonna work?
No, sorry.
Okay. That's all right. It's just a little stick figure video. It has like little Monopoly cards and shows what title is, what title's not, but it's okay. Yes. So they show the little Monopoly cards. It's like, you know, in the game you pay money for this title and they give you, you know, Park Place or whatever. And then it's like, but then what if, you know, Billy Joe comes back a year later and says, oh, hey, this property actually belongs to my grandpa, and I have a deed that says that this property is mine, but my grandpa put it in his sock drawer and never filed it, right? Well, I mean, Billy Joe has a claim to that property, and your client, who you sold the house to, they got to deal with Billy Joe, and so title insurance takes care of that. That's one kind of very, very high level holistic example of what title insurance sort of looks like, but that's what that video was. But this is a sort of an illustrated visual for title. So title is different than any other type of insurance in a couple primary ways. Number one, you pay the premium once, okay? Unlike your car insurance, your health insurance, your renter's insurance, your homeowner's insurance, you pay that premium monthly, yearly, right? You continue to pay that premium as you have that policy. And then it's covering you for future events, right? Title insurance is the exact opposite. A, you only pay it once when you buy the house. And we're talking about owner's policies here. And B, it works from that date backwards. So this is just a little visual of one particular property, right? 1955, 78, 99, 2012. So these are 4 transactions, but this person's coverage goes from here backwards. Mary's coverage, when she buys the house, it goes from here backwards. Tom's coverage when he buys the house, and so on and so forth. Okay, so it's very different than most other types of insurance. What people don't realize is that when Tom buys the house in 1999, the day after Tom closes, the title insurance that he bought is not covering him from this point forward. So the day after he buys the house, he's not covered, but he doesn't have to be covered because he needs to be covered from here backwards. It would be the next buyer, right? It would be Sally that needs to be covered from that gap forward. So that is one of the really, really important aspects of what we do, of what all title companies do, is to make sure that that coverage is clean and clear so that it doesn't keep rolling forward. And unfortunately, that's not always the case. So we had a deal a few months ago that had a paving lien from the city of Fort Worth. This property had been bought and sold, I don't know, 3 or 4 times with that paving lien on it. And what title companies had done is they just made it an exception. I mean, it was small, right? It was like, yeah, a couple $100. So title companies would just say, yeah, we'll just make that an exception, meaning we don't really think a claim is ever going to come through for that. So we're just going to kick that can down the road. They didn't do what really should have been done, which was get that paving lien removed to have clear title. Title companies can just say, yeah, we're going to put that over here. In our world, we put that on Schedule B and make it an exception. So we're just not going to worry about it. And so poor Mary Elizabeth spent like 3 weeks calling all these people from Fort Worth until she found there's one person at the city of Fort Worth case you guys ever have to deal with it that deals with paving liens. And it was from a road improvement project over in Hill Heights, like, I don't know, decades ago, right? And we finally got a hold of that person, like, listen, y'all aren't getting your money. So they released it. And now we have clear title for that buyer. We could have just said, yeah, we'll just make it an exception and kick that can down the road. But we didn't, because we really, really want to make sure that Billy, Mary, Tom, and Sally all have clear title. And you guys want them to make sure that we have clear title. So Texas is different, as you guys know, in real estate. We are the most heavily regulated state of all 50 states when it comes to title. Texas Department of Insurance, which is the same regulator that licenses your, the broker that got you your car insurance and all that, that's who we are licensed under. They are like, they got their little claws in everything we do. So we're the most regulated state. We ain't from America, so this is just a fun little stat, but all property title in Texas originates from a sovereign country, not from the United States. Going back through Texas's history over the last couple hundred years, nothing comes from the United States from a federal standpoint. We are one of the more expensive title premiums in the nation. So title gets kind of a bad rep, right? When you look at your closing statement, especially in terms of buyer fees, outside of the commissions that you guys make, this is one of the largest charges on there a lot of times. And so people ask, like, oh, is it worth it? This is a lot of money. And then other states will look at this and say, Texas is more expensive than a lot of other states. One of the reasons we're more expensive is because ours is a very holistic product. So it's considered an all-inclusive product, right? So other states will do a lot of a la carte stuff. So if you go to a restaurant, this would be like you're buying your appetizer, your entree, and your dessert all in one. And then another restaurant is only selling you a hamburger, and they say, yeah, well, we're cheaper. It's kind of the same thing. We're saying, yeah, we're more expensive, but it's because we're including a bunch of other stuff. We're giving you a bunch of other bells and whistles that other states are not giving you. Okay, so that's important to know when people talk about how expensive it is and if it's worth it or not. So it's a lot to deal with. This is a manual from title school that Mary Elizabeth went to. That was a 3-day conference, and that was her fun homework. And this barely scratches the surface of what title insurance does. This is kind of like an entry-level thing. And this is a little word mashup of a lot of the stuff that we have to deal with on a daily basis. So title insurance there's a lot of misconceptions on, especially as a title company, we handle the closing, right? So that's the part that you guys are more involved with, your client is involved with. They show up, they sign, we do the paperwork, we disperse the money, blah, blah, blah. But there's a whole lot that we have to deal with behind the scenes. And that kind of plays into also the price of that title insurance because of what we're covering. Right. So these are just some fun facts. $4 billion in claims in the last 10 years. So people say, title insurance doesn't get paid out very much. Well, it doesn't. I mean, realistically, if you think $4 billion in over 10 years, that's nationwide. So the amount of transactions is probably in the trillions in that same 10-year period. So percentage-wise, it seems like it's a relatively small number. So a lot of questions come up, well, is it really worth it? Do we really need it? Because the claims that get filed are very, very few and far between. And that's on purpose, guys. That's because of what title companies do. Our job is to procure clear title because we don't want claims. Claims are very expensive. This is not a fender bender, right? When a claim hits, all insurance is insurance where you don't want to pay for it until you need it, and then you're glad you had it, right? Pretty much any type of insurance you can say that about. Title's the same, except for the claims are generally going to be substantially larger, enough to wipe out a whole family. They happen, and our job is to prevent it. So it's roughly about 22 hours for us to close a file. So that's start to finish. That's everything that we do, everything Mary Elizabeth does, from getting the title work to making sure it's clear to closing funding dispersing. Okay. On average, 22 hours is what we spend in that. If you get a 30-day contract, we're going to spend about 22 hours, and that's for a normal file. 45 hours for a file that has some curative work. So it needs a little bit more issues. Curative for us means there's clouds and defects on title that we have to clean up and clear. So that essentially doubles the amount of time that we spend on a file. But that's the most important part for us, is that curative work, because that is what allows us to give the buyer a clear title. And then number 4, these are just fun stats, but because there's a lot of talk about title insurance alternatives and people trying to reduce or eliminate title insurance because it's expensive. Title companies, 155,000 people nationwide, $30 billion to GDP. And then another big thing that comes up with title a lot is fraud. So seller impersonation fraud is something you guys need to be aware of. This is a huge thing. And then obviously cyber crimes, which is wire fraud for us. We move a lot of money. So wiring instructions, if your clients ever ask you about wiring instructions, they need to make sure they come from us. They don't need to pass through y'all's Gmail. They need to make sure that they're encrypted. We had a buyer, wiring instructions came via the realtor, and it was through a Gmail, but a hacker had got in there and transposed 2 of the numbers, and they sent, this was the day before closing, they sent their entire $55,000 wire, this was not us, this was a friend of mine, sent the entire $55,000 cash to close to the hacker, never got it back, he couldn't close, whole thing was a disaster. So wiring instructions especially, you guys, cybercrime, obviously, as you can see there, $10 billion in 2022. It's a huge deal. So don't mess with wire instructions. Don't pass through, they shouldn't pass through your hands. So what do we actually do? So the closing part, number 3, is the one that you guys are probably the most familiar with, right? Again, the client shows up on closing day, we've got a fun little room, they sign, we take a picture, we do all that kind of stuff. The search and exam is where we spend most of our time of that 22 hours. We search the records, we do an exam, we make sure it's all clean and cleared up, and then we close, we coordinate, we disperse and all that, and then we issue the title policy a few weeks later. So I've got a couple examples. Go ahead, Brian. So this is a plat. So this is part of the search and exam process. Plats and surveys are different. Just so you guys are aware, they get used interchangeably all the time. They are not the same thing. So making sure we look at plat or survey, easements, encroachments, boundary lines, all that kind of stuff. That's a huge part of what we do, especially if they buy the survey coverage. Go ahead, Brian. So this is an example of a Schedule C. So for us, and this is really small print on purpose because this is a real lot. But there are 23 things listed on this Schedule C. So when Mary Elizabeth gets title from our examiners, we have to make sure all 23 of those items are cleared or satisfied at or before closing in order to produce that clear title we talked about at the beginning. This is basically our to-do list. And nearly this is actually a relatively clean file. Some of them are much more in-depth and some of them are much more messy than this. So of that search and exam process, the bulk of the 22 hours that we spend can be in this part. And so we have to make sure that all of these are satisfied at or before closing so that clear title can happen. And that's where we spend a lot of our time. So this is an example on the closing part. So this is another thing that a lot of people don't see. This is also from a real file. But Mary Elizabeth there's a lot of accounting that goes on. So this is actually a disbursement ledger on a real file. So we see the credits that come in, so the borrower's funds or the lender's wire or whatever, and then all of the outgoing stuff. So y'all's check or y'all wire, y'all's commission is in here, right? What we basically have, and then all the other stuff, right? So owner's policy, dot prep fee. But you can even see like this one says 7 itemized charges, 3 itemized charges, 8 itemized charges. So there's actually quite a bit more than you even see in this list. So we have dozens and dozens and dozens of people that we have to make sure we get money to. So some of those are checks, some of those are wires. She has a huge stack of checks that's printed at the end of every transaction, a huge stack of wires that goes out at the end of every transaction. So this is just a whole lot of what goes on behind the scenes that's included in the closing process. So I know that was it's kind of a whole lot that we ran through real quick, but just sort of a high level overview of what we do, why title insurance is important. It's really important when your clients ask you guys about it, if they do, and if you haven't had that happen, it probably will, especially if you're going over the settlement statement with them. You know, what is this and why should I buy it? One of the things, going back to Texas being the most regulated, I'm sure most of you know this, but one of the things about title in Texas, because it's so heavily regulated, the title premiums are the same, right, for every title company. So shopping title companies is really based on the experience that you have, the relationships that you build. We are a small company, that's why we love working with 6app, because we want to be kind of that first name basis relationship type title company. We don't want 3,000 locations. It's not what we're all about. But the price that the buyer or the seller is going to pay for the premium is the same. So to shop around, the only difference you're going to really find is the escrow fee. You know, it might be $450 here, it might be $600 here. It's a really minimal difference in what title companies charge. That they can set on their own, but they're all going to be relatively in the same range, right? Give or take $100 bucks. But the premium is the same everywhere you go. So what you guys want in a title company, what we hear from 99% of agents is, hey, I want to make sure they're going to take care of my client, right? Are we going to get you guys paid on time? I hear agents all the time, I had to wait 2 or 3 days for my check. I had to wait 2 or 3 days for my commission. That's not cool. So she got a commission check at the table the other day, and they called me afterwards like, I've never had that happen before. Like literally, they were sitting. It was a cash deal, but like they were sitting there. She's like, can you sit there for a second? I'll go get your check. She's like, yeah. So making sure that your clients are taken care of, I'm sure, is probably a huge part of what you guys want, and having that relationship aspect, and that's what we're here for. So anyway, I know that's a lot. Our cards are back there. We'd love to chat with you guys more and continue our awesome partnership that we love with you guys.
Thank you very much, Jeremy. All of his information will be in Slack this afternoon when I get back for the recap. But Jeremy's a good partner of ours, and I'm trying to send him a deal every chance I get. Thank you for breakfast this morning, sir.
Our pleasure.
Elizabeth, appreciate you guys very much.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Good morning. All right.
Not a baby. Gigantic, 18 dollars come in. It's in the big one.
All right, so how's everybody doing today?
Good.
Good. Everybody get some breakfast? Hello, Holly.
Hi.
How are you?
Good.
Come on in and join us. I have mail for you. Don't leave it on again. Okay. All right. So I'm trying a new format for the mastermind, and you tell me after the end if you like it or not. But one of my slides that I'm going to actually show you, it says that people do better with visuals than me just telling you stuff. So I'm going to show it to you and tell you. Is that okay? Okay. All right. So core value. We're passionate about daily growing stronger, smarter, and more selfless. We want to see our team members flourish personally and grow constantly. We encourage and challenge each other to grow stronger physically, mentally, professionally, and emotionally as leaders to pursue selflessness. Our intent is that this growth does not terminate on ourselves, but is used to give back and serve our community and those with whom we interact. Of course, we are in a growing season right now with all the new TAR forms and this NAR settlement. So everything that I'm trying to give you guys on Sunday night email and in this meeting that we do every Wednesday is growth. I'm trying to challenge you, and at the same time answer questions and make sure that you're well informed. I hope that comes across in the way that we do things here. A lot of the newer agents, it's been a lot more herky-jerky over the last 2 years while I've been here doing this. But hopefully it's becoming a little bit better polished. But it's about growing stronger, smarter, and more selfless in the way that we do things. That's the whole purpose. All right, announcements. Quarterly dues are due at the end of the month. If you don't have it set up, auto pay set up with Greater Fort Worth, and there's a couple people that have MetroTex as well, please make sure those are done, because I hate that email on the Monday after it expires. So it expires on the 30th. On the 3rd, I get an email from Greater Fort Worth saying, hey, we're going to turn off your MLS in 24 hours if all these things aren't paid. And I'm scrambling to text you. So please make sure your auto pay is on with Greater Fort Worth. Again, reminder, go to Slack first with questions. It's not just about me answering questions, because Tasha has so much experience. Maria has so much experience. Holly, Danielle. It's so beneficial. And Jimmy can jump on there too and answer questions. And it creates our community of who we are here at 6th Ave. And I think it's vital to who we are and how we progress and grow stronger. Have you done your code of ethics training yet?
Yes. Correct.
Maria or?
We'll figure it out. Okay? We'll get there.
October 31st, right?
December
December
31st.
31st.
Oh, you're got.
Yeah,
you
you got
got
time.
Are we doing it here?
But don't remind me.
They're not doing the code of ethics in person. It's all online, but it's somebody took it. Jim Warren took it a couple of weeks ago and said it's an hour or so, but you can do it. Yeah, it's not bad. And the link is always in the Sunday night email. So, and the link to check to see if you've done it is there as well. So please check your link and make sure that it's done. Next week, we've got a new partner coming in, John Yarbrough with Go Rascal Mortgage is coming in to see us next week. He's got some different, same expression, Aaron. Same thing. I had never heard of Go Rascal, but the website looks interesting and he's got some stuff he's going to bring us. So be here at 9:45 next Wednesday for that. We are having our 6th Ave Town Hall, and we are still deciding where we're going to do that. Rachel's actually got to check on something tomorrow, so I probably will have it Friday. If I have the details Friday, I'll put it in Slack, probably on the brokerage announcement channel, but at worst case, it'll be on Sunday night's email, and then we'll have next Wednesday's meeting to talk about it too. But it's next Thursday, 11:30 to 1, the 26th. It should be all on your 6th Ave calendar. Okay, I put a QR code up for the 6th Ave swag, and it's also in the email on Sunday night. But if you haven't got one of the new T-shirts, or if you're new to the brokerage and don't have one, they're $20. You go online, you pay, you pick one up back here on the merch wall. Super simple. Hi, Patty. Okay, we are having a new age proto shoot October the 10th from noon to 2. That's the only time slot we have. We have 7 new agents. 5 have booked and 1 still needs to book. So that's going to leave some slots open for other people. So I'm going to open that up for headshots. They're 10-minute slots and it's on my Google Calendar. So I will send that link out in Slack today for everyone to go sign up. If you want, teams and stuff, if y'all wanted to get a couple of new headshots, completely fine if we've got the time. We only have 2 hours.
Did you sign up?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, she did. So I'll put that in Slack this afternoon. Okay, we're going to talk about the national market. Can y'all see that well enough back there? Let me make it bigger. I think I'd make it bigger here. Why is it going smaller?
It's going the wrong way.
That's weird. Okay. Buyer activity is picking up as applications for purchase mortgages keep trending higher, coming in 2% above the week before. It was actually like 1.6, 2% rounded up. Refinance applications rose too and are now 106% higher than a year ago. Meanwhile, year-over-year home price growth is trending down below 5% for the 3rd month in a row, according to CoreLogic. Month-over-month prices are starting to slip, though only 0.01% in July versus June, so just slightly. Realtor.com saw active listings up nearly 36% year over year in August. That was the 10th straight month of annualized growth, sending for sale inventory up to its highest level in more than 4 years. You guys know my stat, my elevator speech stat is how many houses are for sale in Tarrant County. During the pandemic, we got down to 875 houses. We're now at close to 7,000. So it's 10 times more inventory than there was 3 years ago. 10 times in Tarrant County. And when you start talking about all of the Metroplex, I think I saw someplace that all listings is like 63,000 listings in all of our MLS. But that also includes northeastern Louisiana, because they're in our MLS now. So just so you're aware, inventory's up. Now's the time. We're going to talk about that. Did you know, Realtor.com says the best time to buy a house in 2024 will be September the 29th through October the 5th. Though there's 37% more listings at the start of the year compared to the summer peak, demand could drop nearly 30%, while buyers could save more than $14,000 on a medium priced home of $445,000. Just so you're aware of this, yeah, it's that week is the best time, but that could be the best week in the next 3 to 5 years. September the 29th through October the 4th could be the best time for the next 5 years. So if you've got buyers that are out there, show them that stat. Now, this is my business tip of the week that now you're getting to read stuff. Use visual communications, videos, charts, and graphs wherever you can. A study by 3M found visual communications help people process information 60,000 times faster than text and are 43% more persuasive. So you get to look at a pretty slideshow on Google Slides. Okay, rates are lower. Where are the buyers? Mortgage rates have dropped significantly since last fall, from a 20-year high of 7.79 in October of 2023 to 6.35 in August of 2024. They're actually lower than that now. Danielle put a video out. She sent me Starlight Homes. They're offering 0.99% on the first year, 1.99 the second, and 2.99 the third, and then it locks at 3.99. So Starlight is a builder. If you want to know where the market's going, watch the builders.
And they have just sidebar, like they have, that's for all of their DFW neighborhoods. So they have like there's like Melissa, they're all of them.
Have this worked with them? Because I've seen them, I just have never worked with them.
I haven't, I just used this marketing.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
said,
yeah.
you know, they caught my eye because of your video.
Yeah. Your video is good. Yeah. Just noticing your social media.
Yeah.
Next couple of weeks.
You look super cute on it too.
Well, and I got a guy, put a guy on a contract Monday, and he got 5.25 on a VA. So it's even lower than here, and he can buy it down to 4.99 for one
Yeah.
point. Yeah. So the deals are out there. If you've got buyers on the fence, now's the time to be on the phone, talking to your sphere, doing that. This 1.5 point decrease gives buyers nearly 10% more purchasing power. That means a household earning $100,000 annually can now afford a house priced between $288,000 and $317,000. With this boost in affordability, why aren't sales skyrocketing? Sure, we're seeing more activity in homes priced under $300,000, especially from first-time buyers, more sensitive to rate change. But overall, sales haven't budged much year over year, despite the rate drop and increased available inventory. Why? Why?
Because everything costs 40%.
Inflation. My credit card debt's high. My freaking
That's the one.
debt's high.
Most homeowners have mortgages with rates far below today's 6.35%. According to Redfin, as of the first quarter of 2024, 86% of U.S. mortgage holders have rates under 6. 76% have rates under 5. 57 have rates under 4, and 22% have rates under 3%. So getting the seller to trade a rate of 3 for a rate of 5 is hard, unless it's where they need to go, which is where you as a storyteller can make a difference, because you're helping them tell their story. Yes, Tasha.
So I'm assuming the reason for such a significant spike in the refinances is because of debt.
Yeah.
So I guess is that a good story for us to be having? I mean, I don't really know I don't know, maybe some of you are super rich right now. Congratulations. But
Just Danielle.
But yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I just, stories, friends, social circles, a lot of people have accrued debt or they're ran through their cash or whatever. I mean, even some of my friends that I thought really, were stacked well are not. So I just feel like it's a really good story to be telling right now. It's like you contemplated it. I mean, you take your whatever, 20, 30, 40, 50, 80, whatever kind of debt you have and refinance it, you're going to reduce your monthly expenses.
Absolutely.
That's so my husband's in mortgage, and that's their portfolio customers do refis, and that's what he's teaching his team is like, hey, find the resolution. There is a resolution for these people that need to refinance because their rates on whatever they're paying on now are way higher than what we could save them. And that's kind of what he's been teaching his team is to do that. So,
Good.
I mean, that's where most of the business is right now is people. taking
And
the cash out.
also, you work at 6th Avenue, so even if they don't want to move, you should get them to renovate.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So,
Okay, so let me, for homeowners with a mortgage rate under 4%, upgrading to a new home at today's rate would result in a significant drop in purchasing power, around 17% for repeat buyers and 18% for first-time buyers. So they can buy almost 20% less house if they've got a rate under 4. Make sense? Okay. A repeat buyer looking to upgrade to a medium price home around $450 would see their monthly mortgage payment jump from $3,031 at 4% to $3,500 at 6.35. That extra $522 a month adds up fast.
I just have that scenario.
Did you?
So I have a client, well, yeah. He wanted to sell his house, but he can't purchase more than what he could actually get in the city, because he's in Azle. So if he purchases in the city, he's going to the same house.
Yep.
And so he said,
Right.
and then have my payment like at 2,800.
Well, we're about to talk about that, well, because these things are assuming the 6.3, 6.4, and we're below that now. So things are changing. Things are starting. Let me get there. Here's the other factor of why buyers are not coming out. Home prices are declining, but still unattainable for many buyers. An existing homeowner who bought in 2019 at the median price of $315 with a rate of 3.5 has a monthly payment of about $2,050. At today's rates, that payment would soar to nearly $2,500. That's a significant bump in what you're paying monthly. Combining higher home prices and mortgage rates, the monthly payment on the median home has ballooned by $1,500 since 2019. Let that sink in. That's 5 years. $1,500. Okay. This is part of why we're seeing more sales activity in homes priced under 300. Buyers can't afford the hefty jump in monthly payments due to higher home prices and rates. Okay. What's next? Mortgage interest rates are expected to drop after the Federal Reserve meets today, announcement at 1 p.m. Central. So whatever news source you're watching, just see if they do a quarter, see if they do a half. We don't really know what they're going to do. However, be aware, the lenders that are out there have already figured these rate drops in. The rates are already there, just like we talked about my client that I got in a contract Monday. The rates are already there, but it's the news that changes people's minds. As much as we want to call them and tell them, hey, that's already figured in, but when they see it on the 6 o'clock news tonight, that's when it starts to sink in. And then the news will run some of those fun stories that they run about, oh my gosh, you can buy this and this. That hopefully will help us some. However, this coupled with cooling inflation and softening job figures could indicate more people are likely to buy in the coming months. Purchasing before the rates drop could be a wise choice for those who want to get into a home before the end of the year. Greater Fort Worth president said, Blake Berry, as rates drop, there will likely be increased competition for some of the area's most desirable properties. Case in point, I had to submit on a multiple offer situation yesterday. I haven't done that in what, a year and a half, 2 years? So they're out there. Depends on the area.
Yeah.
Depends on the area. Okay. Attention, Kmart shoppers. Yes, younger people probably don't know what a blue light special is, but I tried to find a meme that would have the blue light turning this morning and
They're not there anymore?
couldn't find a meme, but at least I got the blue light special here. This is from Denise Donahue over at the Mortgage Nerd. Everything's on sale. When the rates were 7.5, you could buy a $300,000 house that would cost you $2,097 right now, and that's at 6.14. It's $1,800. Everything's on sale. We need to be shouting this from the rooftops. Now is the time to buy. Agreed, ladies,
Yeah.
gentlemen?
Been doing it.
I don't
wish
know
people
how
get
you
off
do
the
that. I don't know how you
fence.
do
I can't get louder.
Yeah,
I mean,
same.
do I just start screaming?
Well, you want us to put one of those?
Absolutely.
We can put an emergency siren on the top of the building up here at 6th Ave and just broadcast it.
Like a
All
tornado.
the sackheads would come running.
Oh, I can buy a house.
I can buy a house.
Yeah.
That's what they said.
Oh, and I think that yes, to your point, the news has a lot to do with it.
Oh, yeah.
I think so. Okay, let's look at Greater Fort Worth. We start big national, and we're coming down to to our local level here. The August stats are out finally.
Yes, I know it's been late.
I think they're calculating things different or something. They need to call me for spreadsheets.
Yes, they do.
935 homes sold in August of 2024. That's 12% less than August of 2023. But we have to remember, August of 2023, the rates had not gone up to where astronomical. That was in October when they peaked. So we're getting there, but our numbers should start to balance out a little bit better once we get through that 1 year hump. We'll be able to see the numbers and see them more clearly. Median home price was $340 in August, which is 2% more than August 2023. 3.7 months of housing inventory in August of 24, which is 1.3 months more than August of 2023. 45 average number of days homes been on the market in August of 2024, which is 7 days more than August 2023. I don't know about y'all, but my number is closer to like 90. If you've got listings that are just sitting, you're not the Lone Ranger, I promise. A lot of mine are sitting too. Average number of days to close in August was 31 days. Okay, here's the Tarrant County Housing Report. If you didn't get this, I'm going to put these slides in the slide message today so you can look through the slides, steal what you want, use what you want, I don't care. All this was sent to you in an email from Greater Fort Worth Association of Realtors, but you can see the active number of listings is up 43% in 1 year. That's a lot of houses, guys. That's a lot of houses. Closed sales were down 10.5%. A months of inventory is 3.5. What's a balanced market? 5 to 7. 5 to 7. 6 months is the exact center, but they consider 5 to 7 a balanced market. But 3.5 months of inventory is significantly more than what we had 2 years ago. We were down to sometimes 1.2, depending on what subdivision and what city you were working with. 1.2 months of inventory. Now we've got 3.5. Median price has gone down slightly, 0.6, which that doesn't surprise us. Here's Parker County. All you Parker County people?
Balance.
You guys are balanced at 5.6 months of inventory. Closed sales are down 11%, but active listings up 15. Median house price is down 3% in Parker County year over year. Here's Fort Worth. Median price is up 2.1. The months of inventory is at 3.7. Closed sales down 12. Active listings up 45%.
What are y'all telling your Parker County listings? With that much inventory? I mean, I know y'all have been trying to get them to come down. Are y'all changing anything going forward? I mean, with our Lido one, Lido's, we're just struggling with new construction. So, I mean, there's really nothing we can do to tell them.
Now, I imagine we'll probably make a price reduction the next week or so.
We were just, they were really wanting to wait to see what happens with all the Fed stuff and see if that kind of like jumpstarts some people. So we're just holding tight for like 2 weeks.
I mean, we really do get good showings and feedback. It's just there's choices.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Everybody's got choices.
Yeah, we're on mine, we're on hold.
So if you've got listings and you're getting people set up to get on the market, are you telling them to not be on the cut list? Do you know that terminology?
What's the cut list?
Okay, so this may have been a Brian Buffini peak producers thing from over 10 years ago for me. But when I take buyers out, I tell them, hey, I don't want you, like last Friday, I showed 14 houses to one client because they were in from out of town. So I don't usually show 14, but they were all close together. It only took 2.5 hours. But I said, today we're going to look at 14 houses and I've only scheduled 10 minutes for you to see each home. I want you to cut 12 of these houses today. I want you to tell me a reason every time we walk into a house why that house will not work. And so we set 12 houses on the cut list. And then that night they found one more. So I took them back. Actually, Thursday showed 14. Friday went back and saw 3 because we had eliminated 12. So when I sit with my sellers, I say, hey, this is how I show houses. And I tell them that exact story. And then I say, don't be on the cut list. Don't give someone a reason to mark you off of their list of possibilities. Your Hazlitt thing, if the landscaping needs to be done, is it going to cause somebody to say, I don't like that house? Another thing I always say to my sellers is, if you're going to call me, email me, or text me and ask me, Brian, should I blank? The answer is
Yes.
always yes. Because if you think it, so will I.
Yeah.
So should I clean the blinds? Yes, you should. Should I clean the return air vents? Yes, you should. Should I clean the top of the windows
Yes,
right
you
here on this part and the window forward? Yes, you should. Those are things that I always have a conversation with my people. And then I talk about, lights and things like that. Hey, that light's really, really pretty. Are you going to take it with you? Yes, I am. Okay, well, take it down and go buy something from Home Depot so that it's not in the pictures and somebody thinks they're getting that. Just one of those little things. Okay, we're going to talk about new tar forms. Everybody, I hope, has spent at least a couple of minutes on the site that I work on like all the time. I try to keep you guys so updated on what's going on. Have you noticed on the left-hand side of the page, the pull downs? So you'll notice there's a little arrow beside each one of those. Click it and there's tons of stuff underneath there. I just didn't want to make the page look like that on your phone. So I put so much stuff in there. The consumer guides from NAR are there. And if it's something new, I'll usually link it on the main part. But please look through this stuff because there's tons of stuff there. Okay. Very important that everyone know this. Before you show a property, you must have a signed buyer rep agreement. If you show a property and you don't have one, you are in violation of the settlement that we just agreed to that everybody is paying on.
Antitrust issue.
Yeah, so you can't show a house before they sign something. It can be the 1507 short form, one house, one day, that's fine, but they have to sign it and it has to be in your files. Now, just so y'all know, if you put something out there on Reach App and you put the dates in there and then you come back and put the buyer rep in and it's later, we can see that. And so can an examiner.
Is it true that we have, the police are out there spot checking?
That's true. I've heard.
I heard it.
I've heard that they are spot checking. So I don't want to be spot checked. I don't want anybody to have a reason to come to you and me because it falls back on me eventually. But so if you take somebody out to show a house before you open the door, they have to sign at least a 1507.
Okay, I have one question.
Sure.
So I have a couple that's coming in this weekend. Wife has signed, husband has not.
Thank
If one signs, are we good?
I don't think so.
I know, all of it, and I just removed their name.
So what I was gonna do is just bring it with me because same situation tomorrow. I have boyfriend, girlfriend signed, boyfriend didn't. And I'm just gonna bring it with me and be like, needs to sign this for
We
you.
all in. Okay, good, good. I just didn't, I was like, if we have one that's good of a couple, you represent both, but
Compliance was it will get kicked back.
Yeah.
To that.
like
And-
our compliance, Victoria, okay.
And trust me, Victoria is not the bad guy.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He and I literally communicate sometimes 12, 15 times a day on everything that's going on. And I'm trying to do, and we let some things happen when we can. Angela Stevens raised her hand. Go ahead.
Oh, I just have a question with a follow-up with what Patty said. Patty, did you say that a guest or somebody who's not on the contract is coming along and you need to put them on the contract? Is that what you said, Brian?
No, it's the wife. It would be who I would represent.
A party to the
Yeah,
transaction.
Party to the transaction, but there is, I guess can come, and I just don't represent them.
That's correct.
Now that's kind of a weird question.
That is a weird question. That's a weird situation.
We have to start getting mom, dad, cousin.
Right. Well, I just,
Oh, I would say no.
They're not part of the
They're not part
transaction.
of it.
Yeah, there's,
There is a class out there.
You got a comment?
Can you preview houses and have your friends come along?
No, sir. You tell them no.
I'm not kidding.
I think it's just with the intent to purchase.
it's with the intent to purchase. I mean, if you have buddies that wanted to go along and you're going out looking at, previewing houses.
I'm just saying, how are they gonna tell the intent, not the intent,
And
It's
and
really
There's so many gray areas.
There are.
There are a lot.
I think as long as,
I
I think as long.
don't think it's worth losing sleep over it. I'm being really honest, because there's so many gray areas, and I haven't heard of anybody getting a slap on the hand yet. Once I hear two rumors of people getting their hands up, I'll probably be more particular about it. But until that,
Well,
it's great to have buyer's construct agreement, but if it's one or two houses, probably not a big deal. But
well, I mean, if they're a buyer, then that's the law, that you have to have a 1501 or 1507.
I mean, I think that's why I don't want this to be the habit, but if you're meeting someone and you feel like it's a little, iffy, like take the short form. It's
Yeah.
a really non-committal thing, but it keeps you in compliance. I mean, it's just like Slack. I mean, because really you shouldn't open a door unless you've had information about broker services signed either.
Correct.
So, I mean, those are two forms, easy,
Mhm.
put a little file folder there and be like, hey, man, you can block me tomorrow.
Yeah.
But today,
Today,
we're gonna
before,
look at this.
and what we're going to see is that there's a lot of agents out here that will jump up and run show a Zillow client without a form. And eventually they're going to get some kind of compliance. I mean, are there going to be a lot slip through the cracks? Absolutely. But I don't want us to be one of those people that's slipping through cracks.
I am hearing of MLSs. I don't think around here, but there are MLSs
Mhm.
that they're pulling, they're auditing files. And so when you go, I guess they're doing it through Showing Time or Broker Bay or something. And if you can't produce a document to sign on or the day you showed it, you're getting like, I think it was like a $1,500 fine or
That's
something.
correct. That's correct. There's one in Florida I saw.
Yeah,
that was,
I think that's why we're on Real Estate Mastermind.
Yeah. So anyway, that's very important. Okay. And that's why I put it in big yellow letters at the top, right underneath the buyers before you show us. And there's a link to the form if you need it. Please print 1501s or 1507s, keep them with you. Also wanted to point out that if you do any change to your commission compensation structure, you must amend with the 1505. That's going to be kicked back to you from Victoria. If anything changes, for instance, if you have a builder like Tanya did, and she had a buyer rep signed,
I did, I had the one pager signed
and then,
and then I put it on the long form.
uh-huh,
So it does need to be amended then?
it's still,
Because it should be reflective.
but if it's the 1507, 1501, the long form, and then something changes, then you must amend.
There was nothing that, the long form didn't change.
Except it added the bonus. That's the only thing, but the other one expired. That's why I was a little confused because.
No, the
way-
one pager had 3%. The long form had the 3% plus bonus.
But it had the short form had already expired.
Right.
Yeah, so
So-
your 1501 was first, it expired, you did a 1507.
With the addition.
Okay, but where did you put the bonus on the 1507?
So there's a place.
1501, the long form.
Yes,
1501.
yes, there's a place for it.
Right. But it still has to be amended
It
with
has
the
to-
1505.
It does, because that has to go per property.
Well, this is
That's
for
where
the
the bonus
property. This was just again a generalized buyer. She was going to show, and so she did the short form the day she met them. That expired. They now knew they were doing new
Contracted with the bureau form.
construction.
We did the long form with the additional 3% plus any additional compensation.
I need to know where you're putting that.
Okay, I'll find it.
But on the
That's
15
not very specific.
on the
because
1505, there's an actual blank. It's
Yeah.
paragraph E.
Yeah.
That talks
and
about bonus.
For compliance, let's use the 1505. As a brokerage, let's make that kind of our goal of using a 1505 if we have to amend for a builder, for a FISBO, for whatever the case. Let's make it a habit of using the 1505 because that way there is no gray area. It's there. Okay, that just keeps me and you out of having to go in front of the Greater Fort Worth Association Realtors Board.
Yeah, it said it expired. We just didn't even think that
Okay.
you had to amend it because it expired. So we're doing a completely new one.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
And I just
Yeah.
went on the thought process that it was disclosed.
So the 2402, there's still a lot of questions about the 2402 and the 2406. The 2402 is going to be used quite often, more often than I thought it was going to when we started all this training back in June and July. The 2402 is referenced on the 2406 a lot, okay? And so I put that in there. There's an FAQ on the 2402, and I'm going to show you this one. To fill this form, to fill the 2406, this is everything on this part of the website is just about the 2406, which is the longer form of the two. But the instructions are right there. If the listing agent has a listing agreement with the seller that says the listing broker is sharing compensation, which is the way we used to do it, okay? That's the way we used to do it. Then you must mark paragraph D1 and use the 2402. Make sense?
So when you have a agent that does not tell you, a listing agent that won't share,
Ask them, is it a broker to broker situation or is the seller paying the buyer the BAC?
okay, so when you ask for the BAC and they say up to 3% with acceptable offer, then you would put that in your 2402.
It depends.
No, I think you
If the
need to
second-
ask an additional question. They say, are they offering BAC? And
Is it
how are they paying? Is the seller paying compensation directly or is this a co-broker?
Okay,
Correct. That's the question that you have, which is why you got to fill this form out correctly. You must have a conversation. It can be a text. I texted Tony
Yeah.
Green yesterday and said, how are you guys paying? Broker, broker. What I need to know.
yeah, and that's the emails that I'm sending now are just like, I'm just testing out all the waters, right? Like, will you tell me, will you call me, will you speak the words into
Can
the
you
world?
tell me?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so I'm just sending that if I have anybody that I'm showing, I'm just like, can you please share your BAC and how it's being
I
paid?
have not had issues with listing agents.
Some of them don't even respond,
Well, yes, that has always been an issue. But I have not had an issue.
just not even.
No
You know,
response.
Well, no, so the problem I've been having, I don't know if other agents have been having this, but I've come in with sub asking price offers. Then the seller penalizes me by saying they'll accept or they'll counter with the reduced commission.
Yeah.
Feels like it feels like a penalty for coming in lower than asking, which makes me want to not come in under asking from the seller so I can get paid full.
Right.
Yeah, your buyer's rep agreement should technically cover that. I mean,
It
that's
does,
an
it does.
fun thing to say, but
Also, yeah, so it's one of those things that I feel like I'm being penalized by the seller for coming in under asking. And it makes me want to come in for what they want, even though that might not be the best thing for my client, because they might be so my clients. So,
It's a tough game. It's a
Well, they
game.
just
That's
say
what it is.
Yeah,
It's stupid.
Yeah, I think,
Well,
I think
and
the
just
listing
to-
agents are hedging their bet too, like,
Yeah.
hey, if they come in low, we'll just cut the
Yeah,
buyer's agent's
yeah.
commission, and you just have to be able to say, oh,
Yeah.
no different than I'm negotiating repairs.
I mean, and on the
And
other
so
side
on.
of that, like
Yeah.
I submitted an offer over the weekend. The house has been on the market for a really long time. It's overpriced. It needs work. And we went in like 50,000 under, I mean, substantially low. And they came back, like we went in at 375 and they came back at 399 and he still was offering the compensation. So if, you
I
know,
haven't had much
it
pushback.
just, I think it's
it's
just
been
kind of,
3 in a row.
it's situational. And
Yeah.
are you also asking for concessions?
One.
Yeah, that was the only other thing that I could think was we weren't asking for concessions, so. Like,
We're gonna cover that in just a second.
okay.
Okay, so the second paragraph, if the listing agent has a listing agreement, the seller has not agreed to the listing broker sharing compensation, so if there's no broker to broker, then you use the 2406, D2B, and the 2402 is not required in that situation. Okay? If the seller is paying the BAC directly, you mark D2A and use the 2401. That's TAR rules, okay? This, where I put great info, how to use that 2406, that is the best piece of paper that I've seen on, no, it's not a flow chart, it's actually words.
Oh.
And it actually shows it, all these things, that's where I got those things. But that FAQ right there on new 93 is fantastic. Best I've seen. Okay,
I still don't understand why
Can
a
we-
seller would
can we-
care.
You remember the big map in the Remax office?
Mhm.
Can we have like a flow chart with all this? So we can-
the flow charts are right there.
Okay.
The TAR flow, 912, TAR flow chart on how to use a 2406.
It still boggles my mind why a seller would care how they pay it. Either broker to broker or directly.
It depends on how the listing agreement is set
Well,
up.
I know that, but I'm just saying what, it still boggles my mind why a seller would even care. Why do we even have to do this? Because it's still being paid.
Mhm.
regardless.
It just makes it
like, I'm like,
It just makes the consumer feel more in control.
It's choice.
I know, but
Yeah.
it's still not just
I
like
know,
it's
I
being
get it.
paid the same.
Okay,
It's ridiculous.
Danielle, we have had a conversation a month ago.
Mhm.
And this is in that piece of paper on the 2406, How is paragraph 12 and the 2406 used? This explains exactly that 12 is completely different from
Okay,
the 2406.
okay.
Paragraph 12 is completely separate.
Okay.
So when you are asking for BAC, it's not ever in paragraph 12.
Yeah.
Even if it's reflected on the 2406.
Oh my gosh, it's so killing me.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's.
What do you mean?
Allows the part, 2406 allows the parties to agree that the seller will pay an amount specifically for buyer's broker's fees. This is a separate obligation from paying buyer's expenses. I would still argue that it should still be in paragraph 12 because, yet, in my opinion, it should be still in paragraph 12. 2406 pulls out.
I thought in November it's gonna get broken out.
It's gonna get broken out.
It's gonna get
So-
broken out.
See it.
But right now,
Yeah.
we're still dealing with, we've got a month and a half.
So
of dealing with
again,
this.
I would just put in my email. Just to
So
make
how
sure
are you
everybody's on the
gonna
same page. We're asking for this in concessions for X, Y, and Z. We're
Plus-
also asking for.
I mean,
the
could you
concessions.
But even that, like, is so silly because in my mind, people are stupid and we all like, every perception is everything, right?
Mhm.
If I saw a lump sum number in paragraph 12, that is way easier for some reason for a seller to be like, okay, than to be like, okay, so there's this section here that's $10,000 plus this other form that they're asking for. That's where it's like perception is everything.
But I think
And
that's,
so,
but I think I mean, it's kind of, and she's really good at this. I don't think I'm as good at it as Holly is, but I think it's that I mean, like with multiple offers, we got really accustomed to like spelling out exactly what we meant because nobody knew what that appraisal addendum
Right.
meant. I think for the next 6 or 8 weeks, you're really gonna have to put, but BAC is X amount of dollars, seller concessions is X amount of dollars and spell that. Cause there's a lot of agents, like when they'll send me offers, they'll bullet point it. And I love that. Cause I'm like, okay, I know price, I know down payment, I know, everything. But I
Until they
think
do
really
this,
just
until they misspell everything.
just
and then I have to go
recapping
back
that
and
in your
contract.
email, I think and at least you put it in writing that that agent messes it up, that's on that agent.
yeah.
And I think it lends to professionalism as well, that we respect our craft, we respect their time. We want to make this like high level summary of what I'm offering. And then you can go into the contracting, you can pull out all the details, but this is high level of what I'm offering for both of us. Like, this
Do
is
we
what I
have
want
like,
to.
do we have a template for that? Does anybody have a template that they just like copy paste and fill
No,
in?
but I think it would be really nice to have.
It's super, I mean, it's super.
I know
simple.
you. Yeah, take me all day.
Down at the bottom of Gmail, there's a button that says template, and you can go in there and manage your templates. Huh? And Outlook. Why would you still use Outlook? Are you still on AOL?
No.
I don't know what's on my.
I'm kidding.
Yes,
If you have
on
AOL,
mine.
it's fine.
Yes.
I have clients that have AOL. I still have an AOL account. Just playing. You're still using Netscape as your browser, though, aren't you?
Do you have an iPhone?
No, I do not.
Oh my
Okay, then
God,
let's
she was
stop.
going after her.
You're living in a green bubble, right?
I'm a green bubble.
Okay,
We'll get to you.
Yeah.
All right, guys, that's my presentation this morning. Do you like it on words
I
and
do.
and pictures?
Yes.
You like that? Okay, then I'll continue to do that.
Yeah.
Everybody liking the Sunday night email? Do you pull anything out of that? Do you get something?
Look forward
Well,
to
while the Cowboys are losing now,
it.
Yeah,
I'm crying in the
it's at
That
7
is what
o'clock
it is.
unless they're never playing at 7. They either are done or they're gonna play in 30
We
minutes.
might be playing a little bit later.
Thank you guys for coming today. Thank you for staying and having breakfast with us. We'll see you guys next Wednesday at 9:45 with John Yarbrough. Go Rascal!
And after I got my.
I want to tell you, Ryan, I ate my roots a couple weeks ago when you're like, do you claim value? And you like spending the time. You should send it to. I was like, yeah, I never used it. That week, literally, I get logged in and was like, where was Jimmy's course on wholesaling? Where was?
Oh, really? Good, good, good. Thank you guys online. Jen, Mariah.
They can get anything in there.
Thank you.
They don't even know who.
See y'all soon.
Oh, they just found it. Yeah, they found it in the bathroom.
Just let it go. Actually, I know, I said, let's get high detailed in that.